Hey everybody, what's happening? Son of a silver stacker. In today's supplemental numismatic news for the 12th day of February 2023. First things first, I got to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to all of our channel members. This would be a lot more challenging without your support. Now let's head over here to the next thing we're going to be doing here this morning. Yeah, this is CNBC.com. All right. This is a story about Brian Moynihan. He's the CEO of Bank of America. All right. And he says he expects a mild recession, mild, and is preparing for worse. Okay, let's find out what that's all about. And I'm going to skip the key points because they reiterate them here in the article. And you can watch now, and I'm going to leave a link in the description for this. Okay. So it says Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan said Friday that the bank is preparing for a potential recession in 2023, including a scenario where unemployment rises rapidly. Our baseline scenario contemplates a mild recession, but we also add to that a downside scenario. And what this results in is 95% of our reserve methodology is weighted towards a recessionary environment in 2023, Moynihan said in a call with investors. So we're 95% sure that we're going to have a recession in 2023 is what he's saying, okay? That pessimistic case, all right, the 95%, which is more negative than it was last quarter, calls for unemployment to rise to 5.5% early this year and remain at 5% or above through the end of 2024. Folks, that is an alarming note right there. It's 2024. So we're looking at the end of the American Women Quarters program when this particular recession or economic climate ends. Okay, that's incredible. And we're only the beginning of 23. That's a long time ago to come. Now, the CEO's statement mirrors the earnings report for J.P. Morgan Chase, all right, whose economic outlook calls for a mild recession in the central case. So we're looking at mild. Well, I don't even think that's the case anymore because I'll show you this in a second. It's just incredible what's happening. So Bank of America beat estimates on the top and bottom lines for its fourth quarter, but its $1.1 billion provision for credit losses was a sharp reversal from a negative number that a metric a year ago. So yada, 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 charge-offs, shares of Bank of America were up. Okay, let's keep on keeping on. We'll go to the other news article, and this is from Yahoo Finance, finance.yahoo.com, and I will leave a link in the description for both of these news stories, and this is the most alarming one of all, probably. Now, Bank of America CEO Brian Moynihan warns to prepare for U.S. debt, a U.S. debt default and a recession that will drag down corporate earnings. What in the wide world of sport is a debt default? Now, I think we've done it before. I think the last time that had a real major impact, well, I just got to show you, folks. This is just incredible. So, yeah, I looked up debt default. Bank of America, we're preparing for a possible debt default. That's CNN. What happens when a debt defaults? I don't really want to show that one. 5 ways it could hurt Americans. That's 6 days ago. Will the U.S. ever default? Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff here that you can look up, but this happened in 1932, folks. And do you remember what happened in 1933? Yeah, they outlawed owning gold. Yeah. So have you got a place in your backyard picked out already? So this is by Jennifer Soar, Monday, February 6, 2023. It's a 2-minute read. It says here, these are the 3 bullet points. U.S. debt default is still an uncomfortable possibility, adding to BofA CEO Brian Moynihan. You hope this doesn't happen, but hope is not a strategy, so you prepare for it, right? You hope for the best, expect the worst. He warned in an interview on CNN on Monday morning. I saw that interview. Remember I was telling you about this? This is huge. I was like, what? Yeah, BofA has been warning for months a recession. They were saying mild recession could drag earnings and the economy down at least until the end of 2024, right? Now, preparing for a U.S. debt default and a recession that will drag down corporate earnings, according to the Bank of America CEO. In an interview with CNN on Monday, the head of the second largest bank in the United States said he hoped the government wouldn't slip into default on its debt. But it's a possibility, he warned, one of which could rattle markets and the economy. Absolutely. That's kind of a scary prospect, actually. Now, we have to prepare for that, not only in this country, but in other countries around the world, Moynihan warned. You hope it doesn't happen, but hope is not a strategy, so you prepare for it. I think that's reiterating what he already said. January, let's keep on. The ominous warning comes shortly after the U.S. hit $31.4 trillion borrowing in January, which prompted the U.S. Treasury, that's the people who run the mint, to implement extraordinary measures. And those measures are going to last until June, okay? Leaving Congress with little over 4 months to either raise the debt ceiling or risk financial meltdown in an epic stock market crash. That does not sound good. Epic? No. That's like, what? I don't need, epic stock? Yeah, that's what we all don't need. But talks over the government's budget. Now there's puts and shorts, right? You ever familiar with puts and shorts? I imagine they might be making money in an environment like that. Now, But talks over the government's budget are making little progress, with Republicans and Democrats sparring over possible spending cuts if the U.S. is to raise the debt ceiling. And this is where it gets really hairball, folks. Moynihan noted that the U.S. has needed to borrow more in recent years due to extraordinary circumstances like the COVID-19 crisis, but he shot down suggestions made by other commentators that the U.S. government should scrap the debt ceiling completely. And folks, what would be the ramifications if they scrap the debt ceiling? I mean, isn't it just a number? Can't they print as many dollars and bills as they like and digital currencies as they like? Because let's face it, our currency is not backed by anything. It's not a stable coin. It's we got taken off the gold standard, right? So there's got to be an argument about how we make sure we live within our means as a country, the executive said in the interview. And folks, if we ran our households like these guys do, would we be out on the street by now? You bet. Moynihan added that the Bank of America is still expecting a mild recession to hit the economy, as inflation and high interest rates are still a huge concern. Central bankers have raised rates 450 basis points to lower high prices. Now, it hasn't worked, has it? But rates that high could drag on corporate earnings and send the economy into a downturn, Bank of America previously warned. So isn't that funny? They say this was to lower prices, but they don't give you any perspective like, hey, has it worked? Yeah, no, hasn't at all. Good times. Now, strategists predicted that a recession could send the S&P 500 falling 24% in the early half of this year. That's similar to estimates from Morgan Stanley, which predicted an earnings recession could send stocks 20% lower. And I even think they're talking about housing market being 20% lower also. Now, check this out. This is the one thing that I think really needs to focus. We need to focus on this right here. Raising rates 450 basis points. So why is that a big deal, folks? Why is high rates kind of a big deal? Well, let's go here to the zombie corporations. So what zombie corporations are? The zombie companies are typically defined, and I've mentioned this before, this is something you need to know, as firms that haven't produced enough profit to service their debts. All right, also known as interest coverage ratio below 1 for 3 straight years. Think about that. 3 straight years. Haven't had a profit for 3 straight years and had to take bank loans. And they're taking bank loans to pay off the other bank loans to pay off the other bank loans, right? Ouch. Now, it says here, based on that definition, some 13% of companies based in the United States could be considered examples of the living dead. Now, that was September 28, 2022, about 6 months ago now. That's the real consequences of having higher interest rates, folks. That is a scary possibility. Think about that. 20%, I think it's closer to 20% than 13%. But then again, I don't run the numbers, but that's basically what we're looking at. I think it really is 1 in 5 companies is a zombie corporation. And that is, well, here, let's see this here. It says, how many are there? David Traynor, CEO of the investment research firm New Constructs, believes there are roughly 300 publicly traded zombie corporations. That is incredible. And that's huge. And that is from 10/1/2022. Yeah. Scary. That's what they're saying. And the name zombie should probably freak you out a little bit too, right? Right, zombie? That's who wants to do that? It's not a fun dance. Anyway, folks, let's go back to the homepage. I hope you like this. I'm going to be doing this from now on. So you're going to do some numismatic news in the morning, followed by some economic news, and hopefully another numismatic news that's in a supplemental form. So there you go. Hope you enjoyed. Son of a Silver Stacker. Out.